Hey guys, I'm Grace and this is The Breakdown. So, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen Irrational Games shutting down and Sony Santa Monica seeing massive layoffs. In the last few years, we've seen Square Enix not meeting their sales expectations, Nintendo generally having a bit of a bad time, and THQ's bankruptcy. So, that got us asking, is the gaming industry asking too much of us and what can they do to improve it? As always, leave your opinions in the comments. First off, let's delve into Take-Two and Ken Levine's recent announcement that Irrational Games, the developers behind the popular Bioshock series, was shutting down. What happened? Well, Levine threw out a luxurious number by anyone's standards that 200 million copies of Bioshock Infinite would be sold. Levine wanted to reassure Take-Two that it would be a mega seller. It wasn't, and only because it didn't sell to the extent that Levine promised. I mean, he even said homeless people would ask for a copy of the game over change, which is ridiculous and makes no sense. They'd ask for a console to play it on, and a TV, and a home with electricity. You get the idea, and don't even get me started on what he said about Gandhi. He asked too much of the world, and the world's response would be one of the reasons Irrational Games has been deflated and packed away like a bouncy castle at a party that had a lot of hope until some kid dropped a brown number in the middle of it. But that's not to say Take-Two is an example of a company in crisis, and neither is its parent company, publisher 2K Games. AAA game development costs a lot, but when it comes to big budget games, the money being used goes towards better development, technology, specs, narrative, innovation and much more. Don't forget, these guys own Grand Theft Auto. What we should have a look at is the death of AA games, those games without the Hollywood budget and without the indie soul. But before we get to that, let me use my great segue on you first. Levine was born in Santa Monica, and the next thing I'm going to discuss are the layoffs at God of War developers Sony Santa Monica. Nailed it! Job cuts have been confirmed by a Sony representative due to a cycle of resource realignment against priority growth areas. I don't know what this means, but it sounds serious. Anyway, the last game these guys released was God of War Ascension, which was rumoured to cost as much as Modern Warfare 2 to make and sold just 360,000 copies in the first month, compared to the 1.1 million monthly sales of God of War 3. Then you've got the news from developers IO Interactive recently saying from now on they'll only work on Hitman 6 and are no longer developing any more additions to the Kane and Lynch, Mini Ninjas or Freedom Fighters series. The news followed financial difficulties from parent company Square Enix, who saw substantially lower than predicted sales of Hitman Absolution, Sleeping Dogs and Tomb Raider, and now they've been carrying out major restructuring. Even though all three Square Enix games sold over 1 million, with Tomb Raider and Hitman selling over 3 million, they still came in under projected sales forecast, accumulating a $105 million loss for the year. The company expected 14.9 million in total for all their games, and the three biggest titles of the year alone only sold 8.75 cumulatively at the time. So how come even the big AAA titles aren't meeting what they're predicted? Is it because their forecast too high because they expect too much too soon from the world? Square Enix are doing well, but it's only their forecasts that bring them in at an accumulative loss. It's saving grace, Final Fantasy XIV. Following around an £83 million loss in the last financial year, sales of the re-release of Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn are reportedly strong. So let's not forget the success stories. We've got Swedish studio Starbreeze, which has turned around a 15-year loss in just 6 months. Previously recording a loss of $14.4 million, the company in the last 6 months has managed to generate a profit of approximately $16 million, with games like Payday 2 and Brothers: A Tale of Two Souls, both of which have done very well on Steam. So earlier I explained the death of AA Games. Now to explain that game type briefly, it's not got a Hollywood budget, but it's not indie. It's the THQ's Red Factions and Saints Row 1 and 2 of the world. But for some reason the gaming industry feels like it needs to put a lot of money into the games. But do they really? I'd be happier with a lower quality game that's shorter if the price mirrored the experience. Finally, you've got Nintendo's Wii U sales issues and THQ's bankruptcy, which saw the company split into parts and sold to the highest bidder. It's all going on, and it seems that the gaming industry is pumping too much money into development and not making it back in sales. Let me put it this way, just over 59 million Xbox 360s and 57 million PS3s have sold around the world. If Ken Levine wanted to sell 200 million copies of Bioshock Infinite, every single Xbox 360 and PS3 owner would have to buy it, along with 84 million PC and Mac users. It's like they've forgotten that not every single person is going to buy every single game. We can't afford all the games. In comparison, the nearest media is a Blu-ray, and games are double the cost of this, and so realistically, we're only going to buy one a month, and even then we're going to end up with a pile of shame of all those games we haven't got enough time to play. So the gaming industry needs to stop pumping a buttload of money into these games and expecting everybody to buy every single one. What do you think the gaming industry can do to improve this? Let me know in the comments. This has been The Breakdown. I'm here every Friday, so subscribe and I'll see you next time.